Hello.
Wow.
Oh, now we are officially recording. So here's our demonstration from the South Florida Woodturners Guild at our April meeting. This is April already.
This is April.
April. So I'm going to turn it over to Pat Callaway.
Good evening. We're going to talk a little bit about chainsaws tonight. Most of the people that are in attendance right now probably know all of this stuff, but I'll go on and waste your time anyway. I dug up several YouTube links, and at some point we'll get that out to membership, so you can see stuff more in depth. Basically, I always felt like a chainsaw is a chainsaw, but that may have been true when I first got introduced to chainsaws, and they still look about the same. They still look like this. But there are quite a few differences in them today over then. One, now we have an emergency brake, so that if you kick back, it'll stop the chain. Now, all the saws that I've seen lately have a roller tip. In the old days, they used to be a solid bar. And that made a difference because now they tell you the chain should be tight. And back then, it would sit hanging down like this, and that was considered appropriate. Now they think that any slack means it can straighten out here and cause a kickback. That's explained in some of the things. Now you have this right here. Now that since they tell you to put this on the ground, put a foot in here, I always wondered, why is that over there? That's over there because if the chain breaks, that's to keep it from hitting your hand. That's I had not thought of that until I started doing research for this demonstration. And anyway, this is what we normally wind up using as a chainsaw. However, we have other options now. We have electric chainsaws. This one in particular, there is no brake on it, but that's because when you let go of the trigger, everything stops, right away. We'll get back into that a little later. And now, for those of us that are really lazy and want to go out and rescue wood from the side of the road, now we have cordless chainsaws. So you don't have to have all this starting and stuff. It's just push the button, pull the trigger, and it goes. This one does have. On the whole, they all operate about the same, but you should think about it. The electric chainsaws are really fine. Dave Froelich has told us several times about how convenient this is to have in your shop, because when you get something on, put it on the lathe and it won't turn, you can just go over and no gas fumes, nothing. You still have to put oil in for the chain, but that's it. And I use this quite often because it's just so convenient.
You use it at 6 o'clock in the morning without pissing off the neighbors too bad too.
Yeah, that's true. So Okay, we're going through that now. All of the sites I found looking at this, talking about personal protective equipment, they all want basically the same things: a chainsaw helmet, which has got a face guard, earmuffs, hard hat. I used to have one of those. I could not find it, so yeah, just look it up online. They're everywhere. Also, OSHA and employers are now requiring people wear chainsaw chaps, and they want you to wear boots. You know, we used to go out, you know, with flip flops and shorts, and you're not supposed to do that. The chaps are kind of interesting because they don't protect the way, you know, cowboys chaps do. You know, they don't keep things from, you know, the chain hits it, they just let loose a whole bunch of fiber that just clogs the chain up and stops everything right away. However, apparently, most of these will not be stopped by that. So if you're using one of these, it's your decision whether to wear chaps or not, but don't rely on it. Also, if you're using one of these, make sure you don't cut through the cord. You know, that's the biggest downside with the electric chainsaw is that you've got a cord dragging around behind you, and it could, you know, impede your motion. You know, you're supposed to, you know, run this thing with left arm stiff, elbow locked and stuff, 2 hands on the saw at all times. And if you step on the cord and try to move, it's not a good thing.
Pay attention and be careful.
Yeah.
No matter which kind of chainsaw
Yeah.
you're using, they can be dangerous.
And they are right. 2 hands is really the way to do this. I know that there are occasions where that's not really possible. But if you're trying to one-hand it, remember, if you get a kickback, there's nothing to trip this brake. So, you know, avoid it when you can. Now, starting. Most of us wind up starting these things. Now you sit here like that, and that's not the way to do it. What they want you to do is put it on the ground, put it in the handle, go like that. If you can't do that, they want you to lock it between your legs and pull like this.
No, you're supposed to turn it the other way when you do it like that.
That's enough. I didn't, you know, but he brings up one point.
Looks like a painful way to start us off.
And also, they tell you all the time, never have your body in line with the bar of the saw. Always be off to the side so that if something happens, the chain doesn't hit you in whatever place you don't want to get hit. So why would you start it like this? But yeah, it's like all the other government rules. Yeah,
Do as I say, not as I do.
they're come up by a committee and stuff. Most of the good saws available today say you should engage the brake before starting the saw, and then leave it engaged until you're ready to start cutting. And then whenever you're not actually cutting, engage the brake. That's not true for all saws. The manual on this particular saw says that make sure it's disengaged when you go to start it. Yeah. This is not a modern top line saw, so you know, whatever. when I started using chainsaws, they didn't have these brakes. They didn't have automatic chain oilers. You had a little button you pushed to make sure you had oil on the chain. In a lot of ways, they've made life a lot simpler for us. Now, getting into the safety side. Probably the most important thing about chainsaw safety is do not cut with this upper quadrant of the tip. Down here is okay. The top of this blade is okay. The bottom of the blade is okay. This part here will get you in trouble really often, because when it catches on something, it throws the saw up and back fast. And you're gonna, even if you've got your arm locked and stuff, it's still coming this way. You're in the way. So avoid that. If you have to do a plunge cut or something, start the cut with the lower quadrant. And once you get in far enough that whatever you're cutting is, going to stop it from coming this way, then it's okay to bring it up and plunge in. Starting with the side, lock your elbows. Keep your arms stiff. They say don't cut alone. Always have somebody with you. That's it. If possible, that is the way to go, because if something does happen, you might not be in any condition to call for help. So
Can't dial a phone after you cut your hand off.
it's difficult. So,
You say, hey Siri, dial 911.
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, but Siri can't hear you because the engine of the chainsaw is too loud.
What I found was, they just really, you have to remember, this is a very dangerous tool. It is more dangerous than some of the things that we have in the shop that, people talk about how dangerous they are.
That's probably one of the most dangerous
Yeah.
tool pieces of equipment that we use.
Yeah, at one point, years ago, my brother-in-law was a tree trimmer. And before he got killed on the job, his workers' comp insurance was the highest rate for anything other than, I believe it was shipyard welders. They were paying almost, it was right at dollar for dollar on payroll, because these things will eat you. And remember that. Wear something to protect your eyes. Don't stand in line with the chain. Keep your arm as stiff as possible so that if it does kick back, it rotates around your wrist. Make sure you have your thumb on the underside of the top handle.
Oh yeah, always make sure you wrap your hand.
Because if you're just hanging on like this, it's coming back at you. And if you have any, use common sense.
Yeah, that's the key.
Make sure you're standing securely. You've got firm footing. If you can avoid, climbing up on something to make a cut, avoid it. if you can have somebody around in case something happens, do so. Because it's a dangerous tool, and you don't have little accidents with a chainsaw. No. You have big ones. And a lot of times, we're talking about losing a limb or something. You don't want that to happen. So be careful. Pay attention to what you're doing. And wear whatever safety equipment you feel you need for the job.
As far as your safety equipment, Pat, like you were saying about the chaps and the boots and hearing protection and eye protection, a lot of people don't even consider wearing lung protection like we do when we're turning and sanding. And if you've ever stood 10 feet back from watching somebody cut a log with a chainsaw, there's just a cloud of shavings and sawdust, real small particles surrounding that person, and you're breathing all that crap.
And also, it's a two-stroke engine. You're burning a lot of oil. There's all those oil fumes, and they get in there and screw with your lungs too.
And well, that actually requires completely more, a different type of lung protection. That requires a respirator with a certain specific filter to filter out that stuff. But mainly is the particulate that you don't think about it. And when you're turning and sanding, sometimes you don't think about it. And what they tell you is it's not the big shavings that gets you, it's the stuff that you can't see that's in the air that you're breathing in, and it gets in your lungs and it kind of accumulates there.
In terms of, well, let's go to sharpening now. There are lots of ways to sharpen. This is to clamp the blade.
Oh, let's turn on the light.
Yay! You clamp the blade in here, and this is the chainsaw file. It's got the angles here, so supposedly you do it right.
That's my version of a stump vise. So if you look up online, I'll send some links out. Pat took the time today to get some links together, which I'll forward, and I'm going to send a couple others, different stuff and safety and everything.
Having never been a fan of sharpening it that way, I went to Harbor Freight. So this clamps into a vise, and I don't need it all the time. And you take the chain off the saw, put it in here, you cut one side. Around. Now, put the other side. The mechanism here that holds the chain tight when you bring it down.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
And it's really pretty convenient. In terms of time, it's probably about the same amount of time to manually sharpen it with a file, or because it's easy to get the chain off these saws today. So put it in, and it takes it's like 2 minutes per side to go around the chain for an 18-inch saw. And,
Where these would really come in is if you had multiple saws or multiple chains for the same saw. If you were going to be doing it, of course, we don't do that much, but if you're in the tree business, if you got 5 chains, sharp chains for one saw, and then just pop on a new chain, and then at the end of the day, just come back and sharpen all of them, and you're ready to go the next day. And that would definitely make it a lot quicker doing it that way.
yeah, That's where I learned about it, was from my brother-in-law, because he would go out, and he'd dull 5 or 6 chains in a day and come home and just sharpen them all up. I think we need to actually crank a solder.
I don't think we really need to cut anything.
All right, let's just,
Now Pat built a, I'm gonna move the camera, you wanna move the camera over there? Okay,
this is a lot easier to.
yeah, definitely. You want it? Okay. That'll work.
Okay, now. Almost all the chains available are cross cut chains, and that means they're for cutting across this way. Now, there are rib chains available, but they're kind of hard to find, and they're for cutting this way. That's not just cutting along here, it's still ripping if you're cutting here. And cutting here is a lot tougher on your blade and takes longer than cutting this way. The only downside to cutting along this way is
Need a long bar.
you need a long bar, but also you get these wonderful long shadings like you get off of the blade. They start packing up in here,
Yep.
and you have to keep that clear.
Don't stick your finger in there when the saw is running.
No, you don't stick your finger. No. When the saw is running, you just stay back here with your hands on both handles. If you're going to let go of one of them, either turn the saw off or hit the brake, because it'll bounce around. You set it down and with it running, and it's going to start swinging around, and you could alter your ankle pretty easy.
Yeah, it's not advisable also, if you're working in a wood pile, to walk around with the saw running. Because if you trip, it's just, you gotta be safe and pay attention. We'd like to keep most of us around for a while.
Yeah, we need to do.
All of our parts and pieces.
Oh. The other thing is. Right.
Don't fall in the hole.
I wasn't anywhere near the hole.
Okay.
I'm gonna fall anyway.
For those of you who don't know about the hole, right there is a hole in the floor of my shop.
Okay. Now, this right here, this is your depth control
In between your cutters.
between the cutters. You got a cutter here, you got a cutter here.
Or rub it down the hole.
Oh, you'll go down and get it, right?
I got a magnet.
So you set this on the top of the two of them.
I'm gonna try and zoom in here a little bit.
And
See how steady I can hold this.
these are still good. They don't need filing yet. But that depth control link will stick up proud of these things. And you just come across, file it down to where it's even, and then reestablish the curve. You don't have to do that every time, but every few times that you sharpen the blade, it's advisable to check that, because as that starts coming up, you're cutting less and less each time. If you just try to freehand it and take it too low, you're going to be taking too big a bite. Improves the chances of getting a catch, getting kickback and all that. So
Unless you're a professional running a hot saw.
yeah, well, with them, they've got, they may be missing 2 teeth out of every 3
Yes.
and have no depth control on it.
No,
And
that's a whole nother subject
yes,
for
they
you the
sort of
guys that don't
need-
aren't
they need
aware.
good professional help.
I'll try and
Besides,
find
yeah.
some videos on hot saws. You guys will be amazed.
There's some clips in two of the
The videos you
yeah.
sent me, okay.
Yeah, the guy that's the expert, talking, that's his gig,
Okay,
is running hot sauce.
okay.
For like 10 years, he was world champion or something.
Ah, okay.
He had a Yamaha with a tuned pipe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, going through a 30-inch log in 10 seconds or something. Wow. Yeah, that's we don't need to do that. Or at least I don't. Yeah. We're going to check the oil. Now, they like to say that you should fill the oil tank when you fill the fuel tank. Now, that's under ideal circumstances or with a really good saw, that's probably about right. With a saw like mine, my oil tank leaks. So every time I go to run it, I have to check my oil and make sure I've got enough in there, because if you don't oil that chain, it's going to kill itself. You'll notice even well oiled, the bar is going to get hot cutting. So
Yeah, don't cut with a dull saw. It's just like turning tools. You're putting a strain on the saw. It's dangerous as you're trying to force the thing to cut. So, stop and sharpen the chain. And like Pat was saying about cutting, if you want to split a log, which we split a lot of logs for the types of turning that we do, you want to cut that log with the grain instead of standing it up and trying to cut down through the I got a damn log around here. No. Yeah, I do right here. Perfect.
okay. You try to cut across this way to cut down,
You're cutting end grain.
you're cutting end grain. So that each one of these fibers is having to be cut individually right across it, which is probably the hardest way to do it. If you're cutting across this way, you're peeling each fiber off of the ones next to it. If you cut this way, you're peeling the fibers off. In this case, in long strips. So in a lot of ways, that's easier on the saw until things start, backing up. With my saw, I wind up cutting this way, but I cut some like this, and then some like this, so that I'm splitting the difference. I'm not trying to rip real long strips off, but they're coming off like this long. They don't pack up as bad. It seems to cut a little faster that way. Maybe my perception, I don't know. I haven't tried to time it to make sure, but it's kind of, anything is better than trying to cut across this way though.
Yeah, unless you like sharpening your saw.
Yeah.
Your chain. You know, cutting like that is, for those of you guys that turn end grain bowls, you know what a pain in the neck it is. Turning across end grain in certain, you know, with your gouge in a certain position until you can actually get a recess in there where you're actually, instead of cutting end grain, you're cutting side grain. So it's hard on the tools, it's hard on you. So.
And it's not real good on the wood.
No, so. All right, there we go.
I think that's all the points I had listed.
Okay, so, does anybody have any questions?
What's the battery life like, Pat, on the chainsaw?
I haven't really found out yet. I went and got one of the larger batteries for this, and so far, every time I've gone to use it, a charged battery's been enough to get through what I needed to do. But I only use the cordless saw, you know, for cutting smaller stuff, you know, getting limbs cleared, truing up the end of the log so it'll, you know, fit on a faceplate better or something like that. I don't try to do it for, you know, basic wood butchery.
Wood butchery.
Yeah.
We do that on the lathe too.
Yeah, you know, for that I use the gas saw, and I haven't run into any problems. The main reason I wanted to get one of these was those times when we get told there's a pile of wood on the side of the road, and you know, bring a saw. You know, this has got a 12-inch bar. Right now, I don't need to get any wood that's much bigger than that. And that will actually get me up to 24 inches if I really need to. So, you know, it's enough for that, but it's not something that I would use, you know, to go out and do a lot of heavy duty cutting. If you watch the commercials that are going on TV now, you know, basically they show people with vests full of batteries and stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're going to run a battery saw, I would recommend obviously getting a couple of batteries, and I would recommend getting an inverter to put in your car so that you can actually charge the batteries when you're out on the road. You know, when I was in the work truck, I had a lot of battery tools, and I would end up on job sites where there was no electric available. So I had an inverter in the truck so I could at least charge my batteries, you know, for my battery operated tools.
Yeah, well, even if you're not using battery operated tools, if you're doing a lot of working out of your truck.
Well, yeah,
It's nice
a big inverter to run real tools. So a lot of the new pickup trucks come with a built-in inverter with 110 volt plug-in, and but it's not. You have to check the amp rating on it. You know, some of them. I think the standard one isn't a whole lot. Where if you get a rig with a dual alternator and dual batteries, then you can, you know, do some serious stuff. But you know, just an idea. If anybody's interested in running a battery saw, another place a battery saw might come in handy. Some years back, we got a wood alert for some mahogany up in Coral Gables, and Joe Self and Dave Piper went up there, and I think, was it on a weekend holiday? Holiday
it was.
day?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, and code enforcement within what, 10 minutes of you guys being there?
Well,
Code
luckily,
enforcement.
luckily we filled up his truck before, and we were ready to stop at that point. That's when she came.
Okay. Yeah, code enforcement in the Gables said, no, you guys can't be running this damn saw on a weekend on a holiday. You can't
Yeah,
make all that noise.
But she was very nice about it. No violation. I mean, she was very nice about it.
So,
Yeah, the woman that we got, the wood was there. She said, sure, go ahead. Run your chainsaw. Let me watch the show.
yeah, right. So, So if anybody's interested, you know, we can do a little hands-on at one of the workshops. If anybody's interested, just let me know. And we can, bring a saw with us and go a little further into, with the sharpening and what have you. As Pat mentioned early about the tightness of the chain on these newer saws with the roller tips. I had an issue a couple weeks ago. I wasn't paying attention and I let my chain get a little loose on my big saw. And when I went to start it, actually I went to sharpen it and I could not rotate. I couldn't move the chain. And I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? The chain was locked up solid. And I loosened it up and it still wouldn't move. And I finally found out what had happened was a sliver of wood had gotten into the groove of the bar and got picked up by the chain and went up and jammed in the roller tip between the chain and the actual roller tip and locked the chain up. And I had to, once I got the chain, I had to take the bar and the chain off of the saw. And then I had to carefully take a hard piece of wood and tap the actual sprocket on the roller tip and get it clear and get that piece of wood out of there that was jamming it up in there. So it's something to pay attention to your chain tightness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, now the latest videos I saw on it say there should be no slacking. When I was, giving safety courses, at my former employer, they said you should be able to
pull it down to
pull
a
it
certain,
down.
not like that.
far. Yeah.
Read the manual that came with
Yeah.
your saw. On mine, my big still, they tell you how to adjust the tension on it. And also, after you've run it for a while, keep an eye because the chain will loosen up or tighten up. It'll loosen
Loosens,
up with the heat.
it's
And it'll actually swell up with the heat.
and it stretches,
And it
when it starts
stretches.
bedding in. Oregon suggests after you put a new chain on, run it for 15 minutes, readjust the chain tension then because it's going to stretch.
Now, what you don't want to do is if the saw and the bar and the chain are hot and the chain is loosened up, you don't want to go and tighten that chain up because then when it cools down, it's going to be way too tight. So let the saw and the bar cool down before retensioning your chain. This is all in the instruction user manual that comes with the saws.
And
And
if
it's
you don't
also
have that
online.
anymore, you can probably get the manual online.
Oh, yeah.
Just have the model number of the saw, or hopefully the brand and model number of the saw, and put manual in the search engine, and you'll come up with several links that will give you a PDF. So that's what I had to do about myself. And because I was wondering, I saw this stuff about starting it with the brake on. And I let me check on my, and sure enough, mine said what I was taught initially was make sure the brake is off when you go to start. They change things all the time just to keep us on our toes.
Right. So any questions? I guess not. All right. Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome.
So,
Thanks for putting up with.
has anybody got any instant gallery they want to show off? Silence. Okay, Brian. Let me pop the spotlight off of this. I can figure out how to do that. There we go. Remove. All right, so let me spotlight you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, got a mahogany vase.
Oh,
There we go.
how hollow is it?
Pretty hollow.
Pretty hollow.
Hollow.
Okay.
There you go. So anyway, mahogany vase. That's it. That's all.
Nice.
Lacquer?
Deft.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, anybody else? All right, well, I'm gonna go back and spotlight because I actually have done some turning. If I can find myself here. Oh, that's way over here. I'm over here. That's you, not me. So I got a hold of some mahogany and so I did a little natural edge mahogany. And I also broke down, this is just a little mahogany platter with a little beaded detail on the rim. This is not finished yet. I still need to take off the bottom. I'm waiting for it to dry and hopefully I've got one little crack in it. Hopefully that'll be it. And another little bowl. And these are the result, which still needs to be finished on the bottom. This one is finished on the bottom. These are the result of me getting inspired by the demo that Mike Chrysler and Pat Callaway did on the bowl pouring systems. So I went ahead and spent money and bought one myself. And that McNaughton is, it's a learning curve. I'll tell you that. I put a hurt on my Powermatic. So, and I try not to hurt myself. So that's all I've got.
Just have to let everybody know that customer service at McNaughton is just marvelous. I don't know if it made it onto the video when I did the demonstration here with it, but the tip of one of the knives broke off and bent down. And when I went to sort of recontour it to get rid of the broken part, I found a void underneath the hardened blade. And I sent an email off to the hardware store that I bought it through and also to Kelton Industries. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from Kel McNaughton asking about what was I was talking about and what I tell him some more about it and stuff. And they replaced the blade free of charge. And both him and I forget.
Lee Valley. You got
Yeah,
it.
Lee Valley. Yeah, thanks. I just gone. Both of them were just as nice as they could be. Lee Valley sent me the wrong piece the first time because they asked for a number that they said was on the blade that wasn't there. So I told them no, it's the smallest one, and they sent me the least deflected thing. So I had two of the big ones, and I said that's no good. And they said okay, send it back. So I sent it back, and before they even received the original failed piece and the wrong piece, they sent the new one out. It's been a pleasure to deal with both Lee Valley and with Kelton Industries. just thought I'd let people know that.
Okay, so anybody got anything else? All right, well, we got silence again. So I guess that'll do it. So thank you guys for coming tonight. And we'll see you, some of you will see this weekend. For the setup and for the seafood festival. And hopefully we'll see some of you out at Waldo's next week for the workshop. And at the next meeting in May. So I guess I will go ahead and shut the meeting down. Unless somebody else got something to say. Okay, see ya.
Thank you. Good night.
Don't eat too much seafood.
Oh, I can't afford that seafood over there.